Hi guys, I hope all of you are doing well. So I welcome you all to yet another video in this AWS Data Engineering Certification course, and in this particular video we are going to see how we can launch our RDS instances. So as in the previous videos we have already seen that RDS has multiple database engines, as well as those database engines will have multiple versions from which we can choose. So in the upcoming videos, we will be trying to cover all the database engines that are there. So if I talk about the official documentation, so here we have the resources using which we can launch our MariaDB instance. We can launch our Microsoft SQL Server instance, MySQL DB, Oracle, Postgres, right? As well as we will also create a web server and an RDS DB instance, as well as using lambda function also we will try to access the RDS database instance, right? So all these things we will not be covering in one single video. I will be breaking it down into multiple videos, but for sure we will be covering each and every concept of these things. First of all, we will try to cover and we will try to understand that how different database engines we will be able to use, or I would say different database engine instances we will be able to launch. So with that said, let's get started with this video where we will be launching our very first DB instance, that will be MariaDB instance. So what I will be doing is, so here let's read what exactly this is saying, right? Get started with Amazon RDS. So the following examples, you can find out how to create and connect to a DB instance using Amazon Relational Database Service, that is Amazon RDS. You can create a database instance using DB2, MariaDB, MySQL, uh, Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, or Postgres. Important note here is, before you create an account or connect to a DB instance, make sure to complete the task in setting up the RDS instance environment, which we have already done in the previous video itself. So creating a DB instance and connecting to a database on a DB instance is slightly different for each of the database engines. Choose one of the following database engines you want to use for detailed information on creating and connecting to the DB instance. After you have created and connected your DB instance, there are instructions to help you delete the DB instance also, right? So as important as creating the instance is, right, if you are learning it, it is like deleting the DB instance is also equally important. Why? Because if we forget to delete our DB instance, and if our instance keep on running, right, in that case we will be charged for the number of hours our instance is running, right? So as soon as once we have, let's suppose, understood and it's not being utilized, right, in the production, for sure we will be not deleting our instance once we have launched it, right? But here we are not creating any kind of application where we are interacting with the users. So what we will do is, we will practice, we will initiate, or we will initialize our instance, and then we will also be deleting it at the very same time, so that we don't get charged, right? We don't lose our money, and for that reason we will be basically deleting our instance once we have created it. So first of all, let's understand about the MariaDB instance, that how we will be creating the MariaDB instance. For creating the instance of different database engines, there is a slight difference. I won't say there is a too much of difference, but there is a slight difference for all the engines that are present inside our RDS. So in this tutorial, creates an EC2 instance and an RDS for MariaDB instance. The tutorial shows you how to access the DB instance from S3 instance, from the EC2 instance using a standard MySQL client. As a best practice, this tutorial creates a private DB instance in a VPC. In most cases, other resources in the same VPC, such as the EC2 instance, can access the DB instance, but resources outside the VPC cannot access it, right? So as we are already aware about this fact, whenever we will be creating our database, right, or any kind of DB instance we will be launching, be it RDS or be it any kind of database, we will not be allowing it to be accessed via the internet, right? It will not be an open access to the internet. So to protect it from being accessed over the internet, what we will do is we will try to launch that particular instance inside a VPC, and uh, even inside a VPC, we will try to launch it inside a subnet, right? After you complete the tutorial, there is a public and private subnet for each availability zone on your VPC, right? This is exactly what I was talking about. So in one availability zone, the EC2 instance is a public subnet, right? So EC2 should be a public, should be in public subnet. Why? So that it can be accessed over the internet and it can be used by the users, right? Because our EC2 instance will have, or will, you can say, will process the application, the client side application, right? So it should be accessible to the users also, or to the client also. And the DB instance is in the private subnet. Why? Because so that we can only and only access our DB instance via the EC2 instance. We cannot directly access our DB instance through the internet. Important, there is no charge for creating an AWS account. However, by completing this tutorial, you might incur costs for the resources you use. You can delete these resources after you complete the tutorial if they are not long, if they are no longer needed, right? So it is again important kind of disclaimer that has been given by the AWS people themselves, that creating an account is free according to the instance size that we choose. So here we will try to do each and everything via the free instance that is provided, right? Because here the size of instance will not matter, right? We just have to understand the concepts. So we will try to go ahead with the free instances of EC2 as well as the free instance of RDS. So the following diagram shows the configuration when the tutorial is complete. So we will have our internet access, right? This is our internet, and obviously we will be choosing one region inside which we will be having our VPC, right? We will be creating our EC2 and our MariaDB instance in the same availability zone, right? Our EC2 instance will be inside a public subnet and our MariaDB instance will be inside a private subnet, right? So we will have different kind of security groups and we will understand each and everything. So in this tutorial, this tutorial allows you to create your resource by using one of the following methods. First one is using AWS management console. So we'll have to create EC2 instance and a MariaDB instance. And second is using the cloud formation to create the database instance and EC2 instance, which is again optional, where we will have to create a VPC, EC2 instance, then MariaDB instance using the cloud formation. Okay. So cloud formation, again, it's nothing but it's a service using which we can use infrastructure as a code kind of services, where we will have to only we will have to write some kind of scripts, and using which we can initialize all the services at the very same time. But currently, first of all, we will try to go ahead with the AWS management console so that we can understand each and everything. We can understand the steps of creating EC2 instance, the steps of creating MariaDB, the steps of creating our VPC, how we will try to connect our MariaDB instance to the EC2 instance, VPC, and all those things. So the first method uses easy create to create a private MariaDB instance using the AWS management console. Here you specify only the database engine type, the database instance size, and the database instance identifier. So what is this database engine, database instance size, and the instance identifier? We have already talked about these concepts in our previous videos. Easy create uses the default settings for the other configuration options. When you use standard create instead, you can specify more configuration options. When you create a DB instance, these options include settings for availability, security, backup, and maintenance. To create a public DB instance, you must use the standard create. For more information, you can go on to this particular link. Okay. So here topics, prerequisites, right? So we will have prerequisites, then we will create our EC2 instance, then we will create our MariaDB instance, then we will create our VPC and all these things, then connect to the MariaDB instance, then delete the instance, and all these things using cloud formation and using Lambda functions. So prerequisite, before you begin, complete the following sections. So first of all, obviously we should have an AWS account, right? We will have to sign in to a AWS account if we are a very new user, like if you are using AWS for the very first time. Else we can just we can just sign in, right? And we can start using our account. Secondly, we should create a user, right? Because it's advised by the AWS that we should not use our root user for our day-to-day tasks, right? What we can do is, from our root user, if I talk about this, right? So we have already talked about this thing in our previous session, or I would say previous class, that from the root user we can create a user or an admin user which will be having all the administrative accesses with it, right? It will have an admin kind of access. So we will have to create a user with the administrative access. We have already done these things, we have already understood about these things, right, in our previous sessions, in our previous videos, I would say. So if you are not aware about it, and if you have not seen the previous videos, I would highly recommend you guys to watch those videos, and then you can continue with creating the EC2 instance. So create an Amazon EC2 instance that you will use to connect to the database. So how we will be able to create our EC2 instance? So what I will do is, guys, I will try to show you that how we can follow the documentation, right? Even though I can create an EC2 instance without referring to a documentation, but what I will do is I will try to refer the documentation at each and every single step, so that you guys can understand that moving forward, if you are reading a documentation on your own, how will you be able to follow that particular documentation and get the things done. So first of all, so to create an EC2 instance, the very first thing is that we have to sign in to the AWS management console and open the EC2 instance console at this particular link. So I will just directly click on this link, right? And something will get open. Let's see what gets open. Obviously the EC2 console dashboard will get open, right? So here you can see that our EC2 dashboard, or I can say EC2 landing page, whatever I want to say, has been opened, right? Or else what I can also do is, if this is my console, right? So this is my landing page. If I will log into my AWS account, this is how my landing page will look like. So what I can do is, in here in search also, I can just search for EC2, right? And here you will see, right, EC2 image builder, right? And all those things. So you just have to search for EC2, right? The virtual service in the cloud. So you can just click on this EC2, right? And the same thing will get open again. Cool. So now what we will do, in the upper right corner or the AWS console management, choose the AWS region in which you want to create the EC2 instance, right? So as we are already aware about the fact that from here, we will have to choose our region, right? And all the regions are independent of each other, right? And obviously in the pricing thing also, we have understood the fact that if my EC2 is in some other region, right, whereas if my database instance is in some other region, for the input output operation of the data or for the data transfer, I will be charged. But if they are in the same location and in the same region, in the same availability zone, I will not be charged anything for the data transfer. So I will try to keep both of the instances in the same region, and I will try to keep it in Mumbai region, because currently I am in New Delhi, right? So Mumbai is the nearest region to me. So I will try to initialize my instances to the nearest possible region that I have. Okay, so I will try to select Mumbai. If you are somewhere outside India, right, if you are in India, you can choose Mumbai or Hyderabad, totally depends, and it will hardly create any kind of difference if you are choosing Mumbai or Hyderabad. If you are somewhere outside of India, so according to your location, you can try to understand and try to see which location is nearest to yours, and you can select that particular location, or I would say that particular region. Okay. Next, let's go to the documentation. So on the upper right corner, we have selected our region. Now choose EC2 dashboard and then choose launch instance as shown in the following image, right? So we have to click on this launch instance button, right? So here we have our launch instance button, or I can also click on view dashboard, right? So I will be redirected to a page something like this. So all these things you may not see, because if you are using it for the very first time, you may not see these things, right? So now here we have to click on launch instance. Okay, so I have clicked on my launch instance. Now what do I have to do? The launch instance, the launch and instance page opens, right? So this is launch and instance page that has been opened. So under the following settings on the launch and instance page, under name and tags, enter the name EC2DB instance database connect. So let me just copy this name and let me paste it here in the name. Okay. Then under the application and OS images, Amazon image machine, choose Amazon Linux and then choose Amazon Linux 2013 AMI. Okay. Keep the default selections for the other choices, right? So what here I will do is I will come back here and here I will be selecting what kind of operating system do I want to use. So either I can use Amazon Linux, or if I want to use Ubuntu, right? So I can go ahead with Ubuntu. If I can go want to use Windows, I can choose Windows also, right? I can choose Mac OS if I want my server to be having our Mac OS, Red Hat, right? Uh, SUSE Linux and Debian is also available here. So let's go ahead and let's follow the documentation itself. So I will try to go ahead with our Amazon Linux itself, right? So for the current settings, you will be changed or removed with the following. Okay, confirm changes. Okay, cool. And now here I will try to select what? I will try to select Amazon Linux 2023 AMI. So Amazon Linux, right? Amazon Linux, right? Kernel 6.1 and all these things. So it hardly creates any kind of difference, right? So let's select this one only. Okay. And then what we will do is under the instance type, choose T2 micro, which is a free instance. So what I will do is I will try to scroll a bit down and here I can choose as T2 micro. So okay, ideally it should give me free instance. Additional cost apply for AMI with the pre-installed. Enable this all generation button. Ideally it should give me a free instance. Not very sure why it's not giving me as free. It seems like okay, no, I'm not new at all. Okay, let's see, right? Let's move forward. Then under the key pair login, choose a key pair name to use if you have an existing key pair. To create a new key pair in the key pair for the Amazon EC2 instance, choose create new key pair and then choose use the create key pair window to create it. For more information, you can go on to this link. So what we have to do is, so what we will do is using key pair, we will try to SSH, right? So it is a secure shell connection. What we usually, the full form of SSH is. So using our terminal, we will be able to connect to the instance that we are launching currently of the EC2. So what we will do is we will try to create a new key pair. So try to keep the name as okay. Sorry guys. Okay. So so to keep the things by default itself. So if we have any other thing selected, so keep the pair type as RSA itself and use the private key format as .pem itself. If we will be using putty to connect to the so putty is again a tool that is used to do a SSH to the servers, right? So if you are using putty as a tool, in that case you will have to use this .ppk extension. Else if you are using any other tool, you can go ahead with the .pem file format. Okay, and here I will choose my name. So let's suppose VS17 hyphen key pair. Okay, and then what I will do is create key pair and it will ask me to download it. So I will save it in any of the folder that I want to. So I have downloaded it, and now you can see here it will automatically get attached, right? So it is attached to my attached as a key pair. Now what I will do next is, for allow SSH traffic in the network settings, choose the source of SSH networks in the EC2 instance. You can choose my IP if the displayed IP address is correct for the SSH connection. Otherwise, you can determine the IP address to use to connect to the EC2 instance in your VPC using SSH, right? To determine your public IP address in a different browser window or tab, you can use the service at checkmyipaddress.com. For example, the IP address is something like this. In many cases, you might connect through an internet service provider ISP or from behind a firewall without a static IP address. If so, make sure to determine the range of IP addresses used by the client computers. Now, what does this particular thing means? And I would say this is one of the places that most of the people get some kind of issues. And what kind of issue they will get is, they will not specifically mention this traffic thing, right? SSH traffic. And later on, that when they will try to connect to the EC2 instance, it will not get connected. Why? Because they have not clearly mentioned, and they have not clearly you can say set up the network connection in such a way that they can access the EC2 instance, right? So here what I can do is, I can come back here, right? I can create a security group, right? Or else what I can do is, if I am already having an existing group, so I can use those existing groups itself, right? But because I'm using it for the very first time, I will just try to create a new security group, okay? And then I will keep it that allow SSH traffic from anywhere itself, because currently we are not too worried about the security aspect of it. So I will try to keep the SSH traffic for my EC2 instance from anywhere. Means anyone who is having the IP address of my EC2 instance can connect to my instance. Okay. So warning, if you use 0.0.0 for SSH access, you make it possible for all the IP addresses to access your public EC2 instance using SSH. And this is what exactly I was saying, that if I am allowing it to access from anywhere, anyone who is having my IP address will be able to access my instance, right? This approach is acceptable for a short term in testing environment, but it's unsafe for production environments. In production, authorize only the specific IP address or range of addresses to access your EC2 instance using SSH. Okay. So the following image shows here an example of the network setting section, right? So you can do what? You can click on create group, then you can allow this traffic on, and you can just click on my IP address, right? If you want to make it more secure, either you can click on this custom thing, right? And from here in custom, you can add what kind of things you want to add, right? You can create your own security group, or you can create some kind of specific IP addresses that you want to create, something like this, right? Else, if I only want to be accessed using my IP, right? Using my system, I can access SSH to this particular instance. I can keep the traffic as my IP also. Okay, so let's keep it my IP. No worries with at all. Okay. Then leave the default values of the remaining sections. Review the summary of EC2 instance configuration in the summary pane when you are ready to launch the instance. Right. Rest of the things we will keep as same. Right. Here, if I want to attach some more space, so I can enter that. So let's suppose I want to attach 50 GB. Right. So I can attach here as 50 GB, but currently because 8 is more than enough, we will not be using any kind of EC2 space. Right. So let's keep it 8 GB only. In the advanced details, you can also domain join a directory, right? You can do a IAM instance profile, hostname, and all these things. So currently this is not of too much of use to us, right? We will be exploring these things when we will try to understand about the EC2 instance specifically. Then we will try to talk about these advanced things. Now here in the summary thing, you can see all the things which we have selected, right? So I want only one single instance. If I want with the same configuration, I want more than one instance to be launched, I can mention it. So let's suppose I want 5 instances to be launched. I can use, or I can write here as 5, but currently there is no use of launching 5 instance. So I will only be writing, or I will only be launching, I would say, one instance. The image that I am using is our Amazon Linux 2013 AMI and all these stuffs, right? The server which I am using is T2 Micro, right? Currently firewall group, the security group I am using is the new security group, and volume I have attached is 8 GB of volume. And then I will do what? I will just click on this launch instance, or I can also click on this preview code, and in this case I will get the code that I was exactly talking about, right? If I talk about, let's suppose, SDK Python, right? And if I want to launch this kind of thing using our SDK, right? We are already aware about what is SDK and for what all languages do I have an SDK, right? So I can use this exact code to launch it, right? But let's not use SDKs or something. I will do what? I will just click on launch instance, and it will take a few seconds only to launch the instance. Okay, so the instance has been launched. I am getting the success message here. So here you can see that the instance state is running. So here some checks will be done. So the status check is being initialized here, right? So we have our instance name here, right? The EC2 database connect instance name, right? We have our instance ID here, right? The status of our instance is running. Okay, instance type is T2 Micro, right? If I want to select any kind of alarm, means if I want to maybe create any kind of notification and all those things. Let's suppose if my RAM usage goes up more than 80% and all those things, I want to get notified. In that particular case, I can add a new alarm, right? This is my availability zone, right? So AP South 1B is my availability zone. Okay, then talking about the private IP4 DNS. So this is my private IP address, right? This is my private IP4. Okay, this is my private IP4 address, right? I don't have any kind of elastic IP. I don't have any kind of IPv4. Monitoring is currently disabled. Security group name is launch wizard 6. Key pair name is VS17 key pair, right? Launch time is this. Platform is Linux. Managed is false, and operator is currently none. Okay, so these are the informations that I am getting from here. If I can select it, so more of the information will be shown here itself in the details. We can again set up the status and alarm. I can set up the monitoring here, right? I can set up any kind of security group if I want to add it, and if I want to add any kind of inbound rules or outbound rules, I can add it here. I can do any kind of networking, right? VPC ID, subnet ID, and all those things. All the information I will be getting from here. Storage, any information and all those things about storage, I will be getting here itself. And if I have added any kind of tag, so all the tags I will be getting the information about it here itself. Okay, now let's move forward. So on the launch instance page, note the identifier for your EC2 instance, for example, this number, right? So this is my identifier, or you can say the instance ID is my identifier. Now choose the EC2 instance identifier to open the list of EC2 instances and select the EC2 instance. Okay. So in the details tab, note the following values which you need to connect using the SSH. In the instance summary, note the public IP4 DNS. Okay, so here if you will see, if you will select, right? So in the details, you will be having your IP4 DNS somewhere, that is this one. No, not this one, this one. Okay, public DNS you are having, right? And same thing, public IP4 DNS you will be having ec2.something.compute.amazon.com, right? So this is the IP address, right? EC2 the IP address of this particular machine, right? So this is the IP address 13.127.11.2, right? So you are having EC2 hyphen the IP address dot the region in which I have launched it .compute.amazon.com. Okay, so this is the public DNS. Okay, so you have your public DNS. In the initiate details, note the value of key pair name, right? So this is the key pair name that I have, that is VS 17 key pair. So key pair name. Okay, key pair name assigned at launch is VS17 hyphen key pair. Okay, so we should be able to get these informations, because let's suppose we are having n number of instances. Currently, I have just launched it, so I remember everything, right? My key pair name and all those things. But moving forward, if you are working in an organization, in that particular case, you may see here that 20 instances are launched, right? So you should have the ability to get the information of those instances. Okay. Now wait until the instance state of the EC2 is EC2 instance has a status of running before continuing. So here our status is in running, so I can continue with the further steps. Now what I will do is create a MariaDB instance. So the basic building block of Amazon RDS is the database instance. This environment is where you run your MariaDB database. For example, you can use easy create to create the DB instance running the MariaDB database engine with db.t4g micro DB instance. So to create the MariaDB instance with easy create, I can just go on to this particular link. So let me open a new console itself, right? So has it shown? Okay, this is using CloudFormation. So we will also understand how we will be able to do using CloudFormation also. Let's first of all go ahead with the easy create. Okay. So this is how it has launched. Now I will do what? I will try to, okay, let's understand. Okay, in the upper right corner of the RDS console, choose the Amazon region in which you want to create the database instance. So first of all, I will have to choose my region. So region is perfectly fine. Here I was having Asia Pacific Mumbai region, right? If you don't remember the region, you can get to know from this availability zone, right? AP South 1 is my region. So AP South 1 is nothing but our Mumbai region itself, right? So here I have to select, if by any chance the region is different, you can select the same region of your EC2. In the navigation pane, choose databases. So I will come here. Let me make it here. Okay, and here I will do what? I will choose databases. Cool. Now choose create database and select easy create. Okay, I will choose create database and I will choose easy create. Okay, choose easy create. Now in the configuration, choose MariaDB. Okay, in the configuration I will choose MariaDB. Here is my MariaDB. Okay, now what do I have to do? So for DB instance size, choose free tier or sandbox. Free tier appears in the free plan accounts. Sandbox appear for the paid plan account. So let me select free tier. I am not getting free tier, I guess, anywhere. So let me choose sandbox itself. Okay, let me choose sandbox. Because why I have chosen sandbox? Because it is the least chargeable, and obviously because I am not doing here, I have 2 virtual core, 16 GB of RAM, 200 gigs of SSD. I don't require this much, right? 2 virtual CPUs, 1 GB of RAM, 20 gigs of memory, more than enough for me, just for the tutorial thing. Okay, so for the DB instance identifier, enter database test 1. Okay, so in the DB instance identifier, I have entered the value. Now for master username, enter a name of the master user or keep the default name. The create database page should look similar to the following image. For free plan accounts, free tier appears, and the for paid accounts, sandbox appears, right? So I believe so this account is, because it's an old account, right? So the free tier has been up, right? Means we don't have any more free tier. So for that reason, sandbox is appearing for me, right? If you have created your account recently, then you will get the access of the free tier. Now use an automatically generated master password for the DB instance. Select auto generate a password. Enter your master password, clear auto generated, and then use the enter same password of the master password and then confirm password, right? So here I will come and I will do what? I will have a self-managed password. So let's suppose I am creating a password as root. Okay. And root, because the minimum constraint is at least 8 printable ASCII characters, right? So I'm entering the password as root. Okay, because currently I don't have any kind of security issues. I just have to show you guys how we will be able to connect to each other, right? So root is my password. To set up the connection with the EC2 instance you created previously, expand the setup EC2 instance connection, and this is optional, right? So for sure I have to connect it to my EC2 instance, so I will be doing it. To select the connect to an EC2 compute resource, choose the EC2 instance you created previously. So I will come back here, I will expand it, right? And I will just click on this connect to an EC2 compute resource. Here in the drop down you will be able to see all the EC2 instances you have created. Currently, because I am having only one single EC2 instance running, so I will in my drop down I have only that instance. So I can click on that particular instance here, right? So here you will get some kind of I button that some VPC settings can't be changed when a compute resource is added. Adding a EC2 compute resource automatically selects the VPC database subnet group and the public access settings for this database. To allow the EC2 instance to access the database, a VPC security group this has been added. RDS EC2X is added to the database, and another called EC2 RDSX for the EC2 instance. You can remove the new security groups from the database only by removing the compute resource, right? So the security groups and all those things has been automatically added by the AWS themselves, right? We don't have to worry about the security groups and everything. So here I have chosen it, I have added it. So expand the default settings for the easy create. Expand view default settings of the easy create. Okay, so I can expand it. Okay, and then what I have to do, you can examine the default settings used with the easy create. The editable after database is created column shows which options you can change after you have created the database. So if a setting has no in that column, you want a different setting to use the standard create database for the database instance. If a setting has yes in that particular column, you want a different setting, you can either use standard create to create a database instance or modify the database instance you created it to change the setting. So here you will be able to see everything, right? Encryption, right? VPC. So encryption is not editable once we have created the database. Means currently the encryption is enabled, right? Let's suppose if I want to disable my encryption after I have launched this particular instance, that will not be possible. The VPC is this default VPC that has been added once I have launched it, right? Once I have launched my instance, editing my VPC or my virtual private cloud and attaching it to some other VPC is not possible. Now multi-availability zone deployment. So value currently is no. I am just going ahead with the single availability zone deployment. After launching my instance, if I want to go ahead with the multi-availability zone deployment, I can do it. Right? Option group. So currently is this. After launching the instance it's again editable. Editing the subnet group is possible after launching the instance. Automated backups are enabled, right? I can disable it after launching the instance. Then VPC security group is RDS EC2-1 and it's editable again. Publicly accessible, it's no. right? Publicly accessible, currently it's not. I can make it publicly accessible even after launching the instance. Default database port is 3306. Database instance identifier is database test 1, right? Database engine version. So this is the version of my this is the engine of my MariaDB version. Okay, so I'm using MariaDB 11.4.8. Default parameter group is default MariaDB this much. Monitoring type is standard. Performance insight is not enabled. Monitoring is enabled. Maintenance is auto minor version upgrade is enabled, and delete protection is not enabled. Okay. So these are the things. If I want to choose anything or if I want to edit anything, right, I can either go ahead and choose the full configuration thing if I am not having all those things like maintenance and everything, right? So currently here you can see that I am having auto minor version upgrade is enabled, right? If I want major version upgrade also to be enabled, I will then have to choose this full configuration thing. Okay, I will also show you what this full configuration thing is, right? Moving forward, let's first of all do this. Now what you can do is choose create a database. So to view the master username and password of the instance, choose view database credentials. You can use the username and the password that appears to connect to the MariaDB as a master user. Okay, so I will do what? I will come here and I will just click on this create database. So again, it will take a few seconds to launch the database instance. Okay, so the status is currently in the creating phase. Let's wait until it gets to the running phase, or the status has been changed to running. Alright guys, so here you can see, right, that the database creation has been successful. Also successfully set up the connection between the database instance and the EC2 instance has been done successfully, right? And here the status is still into configuring. Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, so in the database list, choose the name of the MariaDB instance. It shows in its details. So the database instance has a status of creating until it's ready to use. Okay. When the status change is available, you can connect to the DB instance depending on the DB instance class and the amount of storage. It can take up to 20 minutes before the new instance is available. Okay. So currently it's in creating state, right? So you can see here the status is getting changed, right? Backing up, and you will be able to see all the details of the instance, right? Currently available, current availability, it has 0 connections, CPU uses, right, the size, region, right? You can see here the availability zone is the same, right? It has deployed in the same availability zone as of our EC2 instance, right? And here you will be able to see multi availability zone deployment is no, VPC is this, right? Maintenance is none, right? Current activity, currently there is no activity on the database because it has not even initialized yet. So the status has been changed to modifying. So you will have to wait a few minutes, right? So that the status has been changed uh, to running, right? We will have to wait until the status has been changed to running. Okay, you can see now the status has been changed to available, or you can say running, right? Here it's running, here it's available, right? Now let's see what we have to do next. So instead of just connecting it to here, okay. So currently we will skip this cloud formation thing, right? Currently, like for this video, currently means for this video, I will be skipping this particular thing, and I will directly jump on to this section, that is connect to a MariaDB instance. So now you can use any standard SQL client application to connect to the MariaDB instance. In this example, you can connect to the MariaDB instance using the MySQL command line client. So to connect to a MariaDB database instance, first find the endpoint, that is the DNS name and the port number of your DB instance, right? So again, you will have to sign into the RDS thing, right? And then in the upper right corner, of the RDS console, choose the AWS region, right? Because we are only shown those database instances that are of that specific region only, right? Then navigate and choose the pane of databases and choose the MariaDB instance name to display its details, right? So this is what I want the details to be displayed, right? So here, and then what I can do is, no, not like this. Okay. Okay. Then on the connect and security tab, okay, let me do one thing. I think this is where I should have the list of the things. Okay. Right. Now I have the list of all the things, like not all the things, I would say the details of this database, that is database test one database, which is having my MariaDB engine, right? And I will just click on this, and here I will be able to get to know all the things. And here I have to do what I have to find, basically the endpoint or the DNS name. So this is what the endpoint is. That is database hyphen test one dot CI, something like this, right? And this is basically my endpoint, and this is the port on which my database is running. Okay, here you can see the networking, that in which availability zone is it deployed or it is initialized, what is the VPC it has been attached, the subnet group is this, right? These are the subnets which has been attached, right? The network traffic is IPv4. Talking about the security, so VPC security groups publicly accessible is no, right? Certificate authority is this, certificate authority date, DB instance, uh, certificate expiry date, and all those stuffs are given here, right? Then if you want to go to the monitoring part, okay, so you will be able to see all the things that currently this much has been. So bin log, disk uses, burst balance, right? CPU burst balance, and all these things, right? So you will have multiple things: CPU utilization, database connections, right? Disk query. So currently when we will start writing the query, in that case you will be able to see. So you can select your interval here, that you want the monitoring to be done at every second, every 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, 15, and even 30 days, right? Logs and events, right? So if you have created any kind of alarm, any kind of events, so all those things you will be able to monitor here. Configuration thing, right? So the instance configuration, what is the DB instance ID, the engine version, the database name, license model, and all these things, right? Option groups, the ARN, that is Amazon resource name, resource ID is this, create a time, deletion protection, like right? Then instance class, so the instance class which we have chosen, what is the number of CPU we are getting, what is the RAM. Then availability, so master name is admin, right? Master username, and the password is root, right? So Amazon DB authentication is not enabled, multi availability zone deployment is not enabled, primary storage, so encryption is enabled, right? uh, Key namespace is right here if you want to check. So the storage type, as we are already aware about, there is general purpose storage, there is IOPS storage, and all these things, right? So here we have chosen the general purpose SSD. How much storage type do we have? So we have 20 GB. Provisioned IOPS, we don't have any kind of provision IOPS currently. Storage throughput, right? So we have currently no storage throughput. So storage auto scaling is enabled. Maximum storage threshold is 1000 GB or equivalent to 1 TB. Talking about the monitoring things, so you have all the things here. Talking about the maintenance and backup, so minor version upgrade is enabled, right? Upgrade second, rollout order is second. Maintenance window, right? Pending maintenance, currently it's none, and modifications is none. Talking about the data migration, so I don't have to do any kind of migration stacks, and recommendations, if there should be any, right? If any kind of severity level detection has been done, recommendation, what is the impact of it, what is the category, start time, last modified, and the resource identifier will be listed here. Okay, So on the connectivity tab, choose copy the endpoint. Also note the port number. You need both of the endpoints and the port number to connect to the database instance. Now what we will do is connect to the EC2 instance you have created earlier by following the steps in the connect your EC2 instance of the guide. We recommend you to connect to the EC2 instance using SSH. If the SSH client utility is installed on Windows, Linux, Mac, you can connect to the instance using the following command. Okay, so what I will have to do is, so there is something called as MOBA Extreme. So you can do what? You can search for MOBA Extreme download. Okay, so this is what I want you guys to download. You can just click on this, right, and you can just download this home edition, right, and click on download now. Same things like next, 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 and done, right? So you will be able to install it in the very same way, just like you install any other application, right? You can install it in your local system, right? And then you can search here for MOBA Extreme. Okay, so I have opened my MOBA Extreme now. So let me just zoom in a bit. Uh, how will I able to increase the size? Let me see. Okay. Okay. So firstly, what I have to do is I have to run this particular command to connect to my EC2 instance, right? So what I will do is I will first of all go to the location where I had downloaded my PEM file. When I created this particular instance, I downloaded my PEM file, right? And I downloaded it where? I downloaded it to my downloads folder. So I will do what? I will cd to, or let me do ls, okay? And I can do to, go to desktop, I believe. If find ls, no. So I have to go back to cd ls. Okay, I will have to go to Visha ls desktop. Even in home, I don't have it. Okay, so let me do one thing. Go to downloads and let me show more options, properties. So it's see users, Vishal and downloads. Okay, so let me do this part. Okay, so my registry build. Let me go to users, ls, no, pin dev etc lib mount where drive home media output registry source and user. Let's see source. What is there in source? Empty. Home. I don't have any user. Let's go mobile. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me copy this and let me paste it to my desktop. Okay, let me paste it to my desktop. Then I should go back here. Go to, let's say, ed desktop ls. Okay, so here now I have my pem file. Okay, now what I will do is I will try to run this particular command, that is ssh.i, location of my pem file, right? So ssh-i, right, and my pem file name is vs17 hyphen keypair dot pem, right? Then ec2 user, so ec2 hyphen user at the rate, okay, the public IP DNS. So this is my public IP DNS, so I will just copy it and I will paste it here. Okay, and I will just press enter. So now I am inside my EC2 instance. So now I am inside this particular machine. Okay, from my local machine itself. Now if I do ls, right, or currently here I don't have any kind of thing, right? Let's see what documentation says. So for example, assume that EC2 database instance connect key is the PEM file stored at here, something like this. So I can directly pass the path, right, and something like this. Then get the latest bug fix and the security updating the software of the EC2 instances. To do this, use the following command. So sudo dnf update -y. So I will just copy this particular command and I will paste it here, not twice, only once. So now I am working on this particular EC2 machine that is launched somewhere in the Mumbai region from sitting here at my home, right? So again, it's doing right. Dependencies resolved, nothing to do, and it has been completed. Cool. Now let's come back here. So install the MySQL command line client for MariaDB. So to install the MariaDB command line client on Amazon Linux, run the following command, that is sudo dnf install MariaDB 105. So I will copy it, right, and okay, I will have to open my mobile stream and I will paste it here and press enter. Yes, install it. Okay, now on this particular machine, the MariaDB client has been installed. Okay, now connect to the MariaDB instance. For example, enter the following command. This action lets you connect to the MariaDB instance using the MySQL client. Substitute the DB instance endpoint, that is the DNS name for endpoint, and substitute the master username for admin. Provide the master admin password you have prompted for a password. Okay, so I will do what, MySQL -h. Okay, so here I will do what, so let me clear it first of all. Okay, here I will write MySQL -h. Okay, endpoint. So endpoint I will find it here, right, and I will paste it here. I don't know why my right click is not working. Okay, endpoint, then -p 3306, which is this port. If I have changed this particular port, in that case I will have to mention that port. So -p 3306. Cool. And then -u is admin. So -u is admin, and -p I will have to put my password, that is, or I can do something like this. I hope it will then ask me for my password. Okay, so I will enter root. Okay, you will not see anything here, something like star or something. Once you will start typing, it will enter it. Okay, and I can press enter, right? And now you can see here that currently I have logged into my MariaDB server, right? You can see here that I have my MariaDB server here, right? And now what I will do, so I should get something like this. I have Got it. So for more information about connecting to the MariaDB instance, see on this particular link. You cannot connect to your database instance. See this particular link, right? So for security, the best practice is use encrypted connections, right? Only use an unencrypted MariaDB connection when the client and the server are in the same VPC and the network is trusted. For more information about encryption and connections, you can see onto this particular link. Now you can run SQL commands. So for example, the following SQL command shows the current date and time. So I can just copy this particular thing and I run it here. Okay, so current date time is 15th of January 2026, 8:27:38. Now this particular time is the UTC time, right? This time is the UTC time which my server is having. So if I search for UTC time now, UTC time now, okay, so you can see it is 8:28 a.m., right? And here you can also see 8:27:38. Okay, so you can see this is the UTC time that it's showing currently in here in India. It's 1:58 p.m., right? So this is the UTC time. My query is running perfectly fine, right? My query is running perfectly fine. It means that I am able to connect to the MariaDB instance that I have initialized here, right? I am able to connect to this test database test -1 MariaDB instance. Okay. Now I should do what? Let's suppose I want to create a table. So let me do one thing. Okay. Create table in MariaDB. Okay. So it's what? If not exist, name dot column, right? Let's suppose I have to create this table, right? Projects table where it will have project ID, project name, begin date, end date, cost, and created it. So I will just copy this particular schema, right? I will paste. Okay. So I will do what? First of all, I will create a database, right? Sorry. Create a database in MariaDB. Or let me do one thing. Let me pick up my chat GPT, right? Create database in MariaDB. Okay, so I will use, let's say, my database itself. So I will just copy it, come back here. Each line you have pasted will be executed inside and continue. Okay, right? So you can now see if I do show databases, right? So I have my database has been initialized, right? Or it has been, I would say, created, right? Now I will do what? Use my underscore database. Okay, so database has been changed. Now I would say it ask it to create a table. Right. So let's say it has created this users table where it is having ID, name, email, right, password, hash, status, created it and updated it. Okay. So I will just copy it and I will paste it here. Okay. And now again, if I do show tables, enter. So you can see users table has been created. Cool. Now let me do one thing. Insert dummy data into users table. Okay. right? So the data has now been inserted into my database. Now I will do what? Select star from users. And if I press enter, so you can see I am getting all the users that are there in my database. Now let me show you one thing, right? Now if I go back to my database and if I select it and if I go to monitoring, okay, if I go to monitoring now, so you will see things are getting changed, right? You can see now the things are getting changed, right? So if you see here database connection, so currently we are having a database connection up and ready for us, right? You can see CPU utilization. So it was somewhere at the peak, right? Now it has started to decline. Now if I do one thing, if I ask my chat GPT to add, let's say 100 users, okay, add 100 users, so that I can show you this CPU utilization thing. Okay, it will again go up. Okay, so it has created 100 users. Let me copy this, paste it here. Duplicate entry. Okay, no worries, right? And now if I come back here, so okay, ideally it should increase. Let me refresh it. Okay, not very sure, but ideally it should increase, right? Rest of the things you can see here, right? That EBS byte balance and all these things, EBS IO balance and all these stuffs. Again, if I come back here to my terminal, right, and try to do what? Let's say select star from users. So now I am able to see all the 105 users which I have added, right? So it means I am able to connect to my database instance that is right here. Okay. Now again, as I have already told you that as important as creating it is, now I also want to show you how I can delete it, right? So after your connection, after you connect and explore the sample EC2 and database instance you have created, delete them so that you no longer are charged for them. So you can use CloudFormation to create resources, skip this step and go to the next step. So I will have to delete individually. So sign into your this, right? Navigate to the pane, choose the instances, select the EC2 instance and choose instance state, terminate instance and choose terminate when prompted to confirm. So I will do what? I will come here. I will select my EC2 instance, right? Make sure only select the instance which you have created, right? Maybe if you are working in an organization, right? Or maybe you have taken your friend's ID or something, anything. Don't terminate the EC2 instance that has been created by someone else. Okay, else he may lose his months of uh, uh, months of hard work that he has done. So don't delete anyone else's EC2 instance if you are using some kind of shared profile or something, right? Only delete your instance. So you can just click on the instance that you have created and click on this terminate. Don't click on stop, right? Don't think that if you have stopped the instance, so you will be stopped charging, right? It will charge you. It will not charge you for compute, but it will charge you for the storage that you have attached to the instance, right? Don't reboot. Just click on this terminate and delete the instance. Okay, so click on terminate and delete the instance. Okay, and click on terminate delete, right? So it will successfully start to terminate it. Again, deleting the DB instance, right? With no final DB snapshot. So we don't even need the snapshot. Okay. So again, sign into this, navigate to databases, choose databases, choose the DB instance you want to delete. For actions, choose delete, clear, create final snapshot and retain automated backup. Complete the acknowledgement and choose delete. Okay, so I can go here, right? I can go to databases, I can select it, I can go to actions, and I can click on delete database. Okay, so I will not be creating any kind of snapshot. I will not retain any kind of backup. I acknowledge that upon instance, including the system, and this will no longer be available. It's fine, and I can just type delete. Delete. Okay. So you will have to check this. Don't try to check these things, right? Just uncheck these, right? And try to check this acknowledge. I acknowledge upon instance deletion, and all these things will automatically be no longer available. Then you have to write delete me, and then you can click on this delete. Okay, so it will start deleting it, right? And if you are using cloud formation, so you can use this particular thing to delete for the cloud formation part. Cool. So you can see here that it has automatically gone, like it has successfully deleted, I would say. If I come here as instances, so you can see here also that this instance is no longer available. I can just click on this. I can go back to dashboard, right? And here you can see the instances running are 0. Similarly, here in the dashboard, currently it's in deleting phase. So let it get deleted successfully. So again, I guess it will take a minute or so to delete it. Okay, so right again, as I was telling you, if you want to do it using cloud formation, right? So maybe, right, so I will try to do what in the next video. I will try to show you guys how we can basically do all these things using cloud formation. I will show you how we can create our VPC, how we can create our EC2 instance, how we can create the MariaDB instance using cloud formation. So for that, I will have to write some kind of script, right? We'll have to write some kind of script for that, right? And it will automatically get deployed. I will not have to go individually, just like we did that. First of all, I will have to open my EC2, then I will have to open my RDS, and then I will have to create things manually. All the things will be done in an automated way. Okay, so now you can see that we have successfully deleted our DB instance, right? It means now I will not be charged anything. I created my EC2, I deleted it, I created my RDS, and I deleted it. Cool. So this was pretty much it for this particular video, guys, right? So in this video, what we did is we first of all created an EC2 instance, right? Then we created an RDS instance, and because let me show and let me make you this thing very clear, that why did we create an EC2 instance, right? Because our RDS instance will not be accessible publicly, right? So if this is my environment, right, and my RDS instance, my MariaDB instance, I can say, okay, I don't require this big. Okay, so this is my, this is MariaDB instance. Right? Now I will not be able to directly access using any kind of, even any kind of SSH. If I am directly accessing it or doing, let's suppose, SSH here to this particular database, it will disallow it. Okay, it will not be accessible. So for that reason, what I did was I initially, okay, I created an EC2, right? I attached this particular EC2 to the MariaDB, right? Let me change this color to gray itself, right? I attached to it. Why it will not allow? Because we have a firewall. Firewall, where is my firewall? Okay, so basically it will not allow it and it will stop it here itself. Right, it will stop it here itself. And if I'm using some kind of firewall using EC2 instance, so because all of these EC2 instances are in the same security group, right? This EC2 and this MariaDB are in same security group, and when creating the EC2 instance, I added some kind of configurations, right? I allowed some kind of configurations that my IP will be able to access the EC2, right? I did what? That my IP will be able to access this particular EC2, right? So my IP, right? So using SSH, right? Using SSH, I connected with this EC2, and because here this thing was fine, right? I have allowed this connection using using my EC2. I can connect to my MariaDB, and for that reason, it was able to pass, or it this firewall accepted the connection from my EC2 instance, and using my laptop or maybe using my system from here, right? I was able to log in and connect to my EC2 instance. If you see clearly here, in the terminal, right? Okay, I hope so. Currently, I'm not getting the EC2 one, right? So using the command, right? Using this command, first of all, I connected to my EC2 instance, right? I first of all connected to my EC2 instance, right? This connection was made from my IP using SSH, right? And then from this SSH to this EC2 instance, from this EC2 instance, I was able to bypass this firewall, right? Because I have already attached this EC2 instance and my MariaDB instance in the same security group, right? And for that reason, I was able to bypass it, right? I was able to bypass it and I got connected to my MariaDB instance. If directly I wanted to connect to my MariaDB instance, in that particular case, I would gotten an error. Here, if I see, right, so I have the endpoint of MariaDB also, right? I have the endpoint of MariaDB also, but it will not directly allow me to connect to this particular endpoint. If as a user, even me also, right? If even me also, I wanted to connect to this particular endpoint using an SSH. Okay, so I would had got an error, I would say. Okay, can I just zoom out a bit? We can just write here as, let's say, database endpoint. Okay, MariaDB endpoint, which in this case was this one, right? This was the endpoint of my MariaDB. Okay, so I would not be able to connect using something like this MariaDB endpoint directly to my database, but using the EC2 instance, I was able to connect to my MariaDB instance. So I hope you have also understood the concept that why first of all we created a EC2 instance, then using the EC2 instance we connected to our MariaDB instance. Cool. So this is what we did in this particular video. So I hope you guys learned something new in this video. I will see you in the next one. Till then, keep learning and keep growing. Bye bye.